Okay, the threat of buyers' bargaining power. Okay, a segment is unattractive if the buyers are very strong or have growing bargaining power. Buyers will often try to force prices down, demand more quality and service, and of course set competitors against each other, to fight against each other. This will reduce the overall profitability for the sellers. Okay, the plan is to try and find buyers that are not strong, or to protect yourself against strong buyers. And there are 3 strategies to withstand strong growing bargaining power. Number 1, a company size. The bigger your company, the more you'll be able to resist the bargaining power of buyers. The more reliant your customers are on your product, the better, because then, they need your product, so they're willing to pay. And of course, the credibility of their threat to integrate forward. So let's say a buyer says, well, I'm not going to buy my eggs from you anymore, farmer, because I'm just going to start my own farm and make my own eggs. I'm going to buy some chickens and get my own eggs. You need to discover, are those threats credible? Can they actually just go and get their own chickens, or are they just kind of saying it so that they can get lower prices? Okay, buyers' bargaining power grows when they become more concentrated or organized. There's a group of them, then they are more powerful because there's more of them to force prices down. The product is a large portion of their costs. So in that case, they really need it to be a lower price, and they're going to try and force you to lower your price as much as possible. Now remember, when we're talking about buyers, we're not just talking about consumers, who are the end consumers of products. We're talking about all the different buyers in the supply chain, right? So retailers have to buy from manufacturers. So retailers are also buyers. Okay, Pick n Pay is a buyer. They buy stuff from Koo. You know what I mean? And Koo is also a buyer. They have to buy beans from the farmers. So buyers are not just consumers. So when you think about this threat of buyers' bargaining power, don't just think about it from consumers. And if we, for example, look at group buying, Pick n Pay is a very big group. There's hundreds of Pick n Pays in the country, so they're very strong. They can force Koo's prices down. Okay? And because Koo is very big, they can force the prices of the farmers down. Okay, the product is undifferentiated. When the product is undifferentiated, like apples, let's say, the company that bags apples, I think they're called Fresh Pack or something like that, want to buy apples from different farmers, and the farmers say to them, hey, our apples are better, so you need to pay more. And they can just say, Fresh Pack can say, listen, you know what, an apple is an apple. We're not going to pay more money for an apple, because it's undifferentiated. It's not anything more special than other apples. So when a product is undifferentiated, the buyers have more power. The buyers' switching costs are low. So that Fresh Pack can just say to that farmer, well, listen here, if you don't sell us the apples at a cheap price, we're just going to go somewhere else. Because it's not difficult for them to switch suppliers. They just phone another farm and get the apples from there. If the farm is now further away, maybe, and they have to spend more money on transport, then their switching costs will not be low, so they have to weigh those options. Maybe it will be cheaper to still buy from that farm that's nearby, even though their apples are more expensive, because it's going to cost a lot to transport the apples from the other farm who sells it maybe cheaper, which is further away. But if the switching costs are low, well, then they can just go and buy those apples from that other farm that's further away, even if it's maybe not much further away. You know what I mean? And then the buyers are price sensitive. If Freshpack says, listen, we want the cheapest price, otherwise we're not buying. Maybe this lady, like you can see here, she's very price sensitive. She's looking at the price, and she's sensitive to price, right? So if the buyers are price sensitive, they're also going to try and force prices down. So all of these things, when these things are in place, any of them, the buyers will be able to force prices down. And that's not what you want in an industry. Okay, and of course the buyers can integrate upstream, like this lady can just say, well, we'll make our own. I'll make my own clothing if your clothing is so expensive. And Freshpack can say, listen, we'll grow our own apples. But they can't actually, because they don't have so much farm space, so it's not possible for them to do that. But if they could grow their own apples, well, then the farmers will say, ish, okay, fine, we know you can grow your own apples, okay, fine, we'll give it to you at a cheap price. Because the thing is, if Freshpack starts to farm on their own, then who the farmer is going to sell the apples to? Okay, the threat of buyers' bargaining power strategies. Now, these are the strategies that can be used to overcome strong buying power. Okay, so if your company is very big, it's much stronger, and you'll be able to withstand threats. You'll just say no. You must still give it, that's the supplier. If the supplier, let's say now the farmers, right, if it's a big farm that sells millions of apples, they'll be able to say to Freshpack, listen, we want our price. You can't force us to lower our price. We are the biggest apple farm in the country. We make the best apples. We're your biggest supplier. We want our price. Because the thing is, if we don't supply to you, you're not going to have enough apples. So, give us our money. Okay, and here's another example. Coke is very big, and they can withstand pressures from Pick n Pay. So Pick n Pay can come to Coke and say, we're big, we've got thousands of stores, we want cheaper prices on Coke. And Coke can say to them, well, listen, we're the biggest soft drink company in the world. Everyone drinks Coke. And if you don't have Coke in your stores, then people are not going to come to your stores, or they're going to be reluctant to come to your stores. So we want our price for Coke. You can't force our prices down. But Pick n Pay can also say to them, well, we're the biggest, we're the biggest supplier, we're the biggest, retail store in South Africa, so we want cheaper prices. But I think Coke will probably win that battle, because you can't have a Pick n Pay store without Coke. People will be like, they'll end up going to Checkers, which will mean Pick n Pay will lose customers. Okay, the second strategy obviously is how reliant is the buyer on your product. Like this picture over here, this lady is very reliant on medication. So the pharmacies can actually charge whatever they want. Why? Because she needs the product. So you want to get your customers to be reliant on your product. So if a firm offers the best quality, buyers will often be reluctant to switch. Like, people often stick with Apple products because they feel like they are the best quality, and they'll even spend a lot of money to buy Apple products because they don't want to switch to Microsoft products, Microsoft is software, but like other computers like Lenovo or HP or whatever. And it may cost more to switch than what you actually save when switching. So sometimes it may cost more money to go to a different place. Like, let's say you cut your hair at this place close by to you for 70 Rand. Okay, but then you hear about this place that's further away, but it costs 50 Rand. Now, it's cheaper, yes, to get the product there, but you have to travel there, and it's going to cost you 30 Rand petrol. So you end up spending 10 Rand more. You end up spending 80 Rand, 50 plus the 30 Rand petrol, instead of the 70 Rand with a place close by to you. So you might as well just go to the place close by. It's going to cost you more to switch. Okay, so and a bigger example is like a retailer like Pick and Pay. It costs them millions to switch. It will cost them millions of rands to switch banks, because I think they're with ABSA and they've got thousands of accounts, right? With ABSA, and it will cost a lot of time and money to try and switch to another bank. Is it worth it? That's the question to ask. So what you want to do as a supplier or as an organization is you want to get your buyers to be reliant on you so that it's not easy for them to switch. And then of course the credibility of their threats to integrate forward. Liquor stores and bars often want to get better prices from SAB Miller, as you can imagine, for Castle and so forth. But if SAB threaten to open up their own bar, I'm sure the liquor stores would reconsider. And the liquor stores could say to SAB, well, you know what, we are going to make our own liquor. But SAB knows that's not credible. You guys can't make your own liquor. We are the biggest brand. We make the biggest brands in the country. People want Castle, So you got to weigh the credibility of SAB. Would SAB open up their own liquor stores? I don't know. I don't think so, because they only make one variety of product. They only make beer. They don't make the other types of liquor like wine and so forth. So it wouldn't make sense for them to open up their own liquor store. And liquor stores can't open up their own breweries very easily and make all the variety. They can't say, well, SAB, we don't need you anymore. Right? Because, they sell some of the biggest brands. So they need each other. So they need to see, but yes, Freshpack, like I said earlier, could set up their own farms to make their own apples, maybe. So you got to check, is it credible? Can they actually do it or not?